Today I will be showing you how to perform the Medball scoop test. So first things first, why perform a Medball scoop test? First reason is that it's safe and requires very little training. You're only going to be using a 6 to 10 pound medicine ball, and it's pretty natural of a movement once the athlete gets familiarized with it. It requires very few resources, so you're really only going to need a medicine ball, an open field, and some cones. And the final point is that it's pretty applicable to a lot of sports. So anything that's going to be using a lot of explosive lower body movements, such as jumping or sprinting. So your sports like football, basketball, volleyball, track and field, these are going to be the sports that benefit the most from this test. So the first thing you're going to want to do with your athlete is let them get familiar with the test. So you're going to want them to have their feet hip width apart, shoulder width apart, toes behind the line, knees in line with the toes. You're going to want them to lift the medicine ball up overhead. Then you're going to want them to hinge at the hips and bring them down between the legs. Then you're going to pull the hips through and explode and lift the ball up overhead. So you're going to want to repeat this with the athlete in full speed without throwing the ball until they become comfortable and familiar with the move, and then you can progress into the actual test where you're going to be throwing the ball. Once the athlete is ready to perform the test, you're going to have them stand behind the line and toss the ball as far as they can. Your job will to be mark the point where the ball lands. This will serve as a point of measurement and as a guide for them to surpass in their next throws. The athlete's going to do a total of 3 throws with about a minute to 2 minutes of rest in between. And you're going to measure from the furthest point that the athlete has thrown. Once this data is recorded, approximately 6 months after training, you're going to perform the test again and compare to the preliminary testing results. Once the final throw has been performed, it is time to measure. I recommend going to a football field where the lines will aid in measuring. In this case, she threw it past the 5-yard mark, so I'd measure from the 5-yard mark plus the 22 inches. So in this case, she threw 16 feet 10 inches. Two of the most common errors that we typically see when performing this test are pictured below. Athlete A is able to release the ball at a proper angle, but doesn't get his hips fully through, and therefore a lot of power is lost in his throw. Athlete B is able to fully extend their hips and generate a lot of force, but that force is lost when it transfers over to the arms and the ball is released early and therefore isn't able to travel the full distance. Some other important points to keep in mind when performing this test are to make sure that the athletes are warmed up properly and are familiar with the test. You also want to make sure that when retesting that the surface the test is being performed on is kept the same. So if you're going to do it on grass, stay on grass. Then finally, you want to keep the medicine ball the same as well. If you change the weight, material, or size of the ball, it can alter the results of your retesting. Anyways, I hope this video has been helpful, and best of luck.